In today's Leeds news, Ampadu injury pathway. Joseph's injury could open the door for Gray. Cooper eyes Leeds United return, and Ramsdale firmly on goalkeeping list. Morning folks, Jay here to view Monday morning with your Leeds United news, the 3rd of March. Hope you had a good weekend and you're ready to go. Disappointing result for Leeds on Saturday, although not the end of the world. A point is better than nothing, and we're still top of the table with none of the top 7 sides left to play for the remainder of the season. We'll see how we get on against Portsmouth at the weekend. There's stuff coming up over the course of the week that'll tie in with that. But today, there's not a massive amount of news floating around, but we have got some updates on some key personnel as well. So we'll cover that and we'll crack on and start off with Ethan Ampadu and his injury pathway back. Ethan Ampadu, as we know, is sidelined for a considerable amount of time. At the very minimum, he will be out until at least after the international break. But we've had some insight from an injury specialist today of what his return could look like and why Leeds have made the decision that they've made around his future injury plan. Daniel Farke told us last week that Leeds United had decided against going down the surgery route and in favour of a rehab route. The reason for that being that surgery would rule Ethan Ampadu out for the remainder of the season, while rehab would give him some opportunity to try and get back. But Farke did say that that doesn't mean that we won't need to look at surgery further down the line should rehab not work. Injury specialist Dr. Rajpal Brar was speaking in his column in MOT Leeds News about the injury, and he gave an understanding of what is needed around the comeback for Ampadu and the decision that has been made. And on the topic, he said the following: the club have opted against going for knee surgery and have gone down the alternative rehab route. Risks here are that he aggravates it further, which leads to more cartilage damage and therefore more invasive surgery. The worst case would be just that. It makes sense to me because surgery for sure rules him out for the rest of the season. This gives him some chance to play and he could be targeting a return in April. It's not 100% that this will work. It's not 100% that we'll see Ethan Ampadu put a Leeds shirt on again for the remainder of this season. But this route does give him a chance at the very minimum of getting back into the Leeds squad before the end of the season. While if they go surgery route, that's it, done. We'll see you next year. Ethan, this gives him an opportunity. We will have to hope that the rehab goes well and it goes the right way and it gives him that opportunity. If not, Leeds will have to look at surgery for Ethan Ampadu, and the longer that goes, the more it impacts potentially on next season as well. So decisions will need to be made pretty quickly on that. I would imagine between now and the end of the international break, Leeds will decide whether he needs surgery or not and see how it's going and then make that call, because you don't want a situation where Ampadu is going into the summer needing surgery. That will damage his pre-season and then ultimately how he starts the next season. So yeah, one to keep an eye on. Moving on, let's talk about another injured player, but the opportunity that this gives someone else. And Mateo Joseph is being assessed this week after he rolled his ankle against West Brom, an injury at the time that Daniel Farke had concerns about, and said that at that moment he thought that they would have to substitute him off the pitch, having only just brought him on. But Farke did say he got through it and was able to maintain his place in the team for the remainder of that game, but will be assessed this week after that heavy tackle against West Brom left him limping. But Daniel Farke will probably update us later this week on that situation. But what it means right now is that should Joseph not be ready for the Portsmouth game, Leeds will have a gap in the striking department on the bench. No Pat Bamford, no Mateo Joseph potentially, means there could be an opportunity for Leeds United under-21 striker Harry Gray. As I say, Pat Bamford is not available and won't be available for a period of time yet to be decided. But Harry Gray and Reece Chadwick both trained with the Leeds United first team last week, and it has been said that the reason for both players training was more from a development perspective than any other reason or any view of putting them into the first team lineup. But their attendance at training does mean that they are around the first team setup and are aware of the situations. And should Leeds be without Bamford and Joseph for the game against Portsmouth, then Leeds could look at bringing in Harry Gray as the backup on the bench. Gray, who is 16, has looked really sharp since he's come back from his earlier injury this season. He's scored a couple of goals for Leeds United under-21s and has been rewarded by a place in the England under-17 side as well. But Farke might be just a little bit hesitant to blood a 16-year-old at this important part of the season, with significant work still to be done for Leeds before they could talk about securing promotion. Hopefully the situation around Joseph is a good one and he's not overly injured and Leeds can play him against Portsmouth, or he takes his place on the bench and Leeds aren't rushed into a situation where they need to blood a 16-year-old. Alternatively, it could be a prime example to have a look at a kid who might be ready for this move already. If you're good enough, you're old enough, as the old saying goes. But I'm always very mindful of rushing young players into the side, because the negative side of that, when it doesn't click the way people think it will click, often can damage their development as well. But Harry Gray, well thought of by Daniel Farke, well thought of in the club, scoring goals for under-21s and doing well this season. He could have a position if Mateo Joseph's ankle injury ends up being one that requires more than a week's worth of rehab. Moving on, and let's talk about Liam Cooper. The former Leeds United captain has been talking this week, and Cooper is eyeing a return to Leeds United at some point in the future, which is nice to hear. Cooper currently enjoying himself at Bulgarian side CSKA Sofia. He's captained them and he's played 12 times this season in a 2-year deal where he's halfway through his first season, and all seems to be going reasonably well for him. A move to CSKA Sofia was helped by advice from Stilian Petrov, the former Aston Villa and Celtic player as well. But Cooper has been talking this week about the next steps in his career and is planning a move that could secure a future position at Leeds United. Cooper said that the ultimate dream for him is to return to Leeds United as the club's sporting director or in a director of footballing role. Speaking to the Daily Mail, Cooper revealed that he has begun taking up a master's degree course with the hopes of returning to Leeds United as sporting director someday in the future. I've talked an awful lot in recent months about the players that played under Marcelo Bielsa and the pathway for them into coaching. We looked at Bielsa's impact on the likes of Pochettino, Guardiola and Iraola, and you might see a similar impact on some of the players that played for Marcelo Bielsa while he was at Leeds United, the likes of Cooper, Ayling, Dallas, those people. So it would be interesting to see. Cooper has played under Leeds under good ownership, bad ownership, good management and bad management, and should have a very good understanding of what is needed to be successful and what you shouldn't do to avoid being unsuccessful. So it would be nice to see some of these players come back to Leeds in other roles. I think Cooper in a sporting director role would be great to see at Leeds United. Big Leeds fan as well, and did an awful lot for Leeds during his time there. Be great to see him back at some point in the future. Let's move on and talk about the linked connection between Leeds United and Aaron Ramsdale, and the goalkeeping position is one that will be high on everyone's priority list this summer. And as Ian Hart told us here on the channel last week, the Leeds United recruitment team are very likely putting together their short list of players right now around what they want to do in the summer. Hart, being an agent, would have a little bit of insight into what the ways of working of those sides are. But according to reports over the weekend, Leeds have some interest in current Southampton goalkeeper Aaron Ramsdale. According to Graham Bailey, Ramsdale is a player that is said to be of interest to Leeds United, but is just one option that Leeds are looking at in the goalkeeping position. We heard a few weeks ago that Leeds have an interest in Liverpool goalkeeper Caoimhín Kelleher, despite the fact that that could be a tougher move to get done. But it now appears that the goalkeeping position is high on Leeds' agenda coming into the summer. Speaking on the topic, Graham Bailey said the following: "The goalkeeping situation will be a fascinating one. Ramsdale, Trafford and Kelleher, they're all some outstanding ones that are available. I'm getting the sense that Meslier might very well move back to France or move elsewhere, and that might suit all parties. Ramsdale is a player of interest. They're assessing the goalkeeper situation, and he's on the market. He is firmly on their list." I know at this point of the season, multiple rumoured links and transfers can frustrate people watching this and can frustrate fans full stop. But this one right now doesn't necessarily mean it's a rumoured move for the player. This feels to me very much like Leeds are putting together their short list of potential candidates in the summer before they get to that stage of talking about rumoured interest or moving for players. So this is just a case of putting together what they are looking at. Currently the two names floating around are Ramsdale and Kelleher. I'm sure more names on that list will be added over time as well. Leeds have been linked with goalkeepers last season as well. I'm sure they'll find their way back onto this list as well. So right now, not a rumour as such, more a case of just a name that's popping around that Leeds are potentially going to look at as they put the list of candidates together. Folks, that'll be it for me today. Massive thank you as always for supporting the channel. I'll see you tomorrow morning for more Leeds news. Enjoy the rest of your day. Talk to you soon. See you. Bye.